Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I am back in another video, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Marvel Comics and whether or not they're going to be able to keep the rights for Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. And we're also going to be talking about the X-Men and how they may be entering the MCU in a way that a lot of fans will probably be upset if they actually go through with something that some people believe. So without further ado, let's sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Of course, the first thing I want to talk to you guys today about is the fact that Marvel is suing to keep the rights to Avengers characters from copyright termination. Disney, of course, owns all of Marvel, and they, I believe at this point, they've acquired the movie rights to almost all of their characters, with the exception, I still think that the Hulk is kind of like being held back in a lot of ways. It says that Disney's Marvel unit is suing to hold to full control of the Avengers characters, including Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, Thor, and others. The complaints, which the Hollywood Reporter has obtained, which according to this, come against the heirs of some of the late comic book geniuses, including Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Gene Colan. I also believe that Jack Kirby could be involved in this somehow. I could be wrong, but I know that his family has sued in some ways. The suit seek declaratory relief that these blockbusters are ineligible for copyright termination as works made for hire. If Marvel loses, Disney would have to share ownership of characters worth billions. Now, let me stop this right here before I continue on and look further into the actual article. Something to take note of. You work for a company, you're working on that, you create a character. If you are a work for hire, the company, I don't know how the legal constraints are, but I do think that the creators should have some creativity control, or at least be compensated for their creation of the characters. To my understanding, the Ditko family had nothing. They don't have anything left to their name, which is unfortunate because you think about it, these are characters that are making millions and millions of dollars. Disney does not care if the comic books don't sell anymore. They care if the movies make money, and they care if you buy oodles of noodles of toys, which the toys sell like hotcakes. Like, a lot of people want a Captain America toy, a lot of people want an Iron Man toy, and of course everyone wants a Spider-Man toy. So they make so much money on that of course Disney wants their share of that. But the families of these creators, I honestly think that they should get some form of compensation, don't you? In August, the administrator of the Ditko's estate filed a notice of termination on Spider-Man, which first appeared in Marvel Comics in form in 1962. Under the termination provisions of copyright law, authors or their heirs can reclaim rights once granted to publishers after waiting a statutory set of period of time. According to the termination notice, Marvel would have to give up Ditko's rights to its iconic character in June 2023. Marvel is facing other termination notices. For example, Larry Lieber, who worked for Marvel as a writer too, filed termination notices over creations in May. The heirs of the comic book creators, including Black Widow creator Don Rico, are represented by Mark Tobrow. So a bunch of creators are coming after Marvel because, like I said, Disney makes billions of dollars and these heroes. So here's my thought. Okay, Disney owns them. They still want to be able to create movies and comic books and stuff and so forth and so on, and they want to own the rights. But the families deserve compensation. So this is where I look at it and go, I hope that both sides are able to work out their differences, and it doesn't leave the families out in the dust, because these people created these characters and created them for us to be able to read and enjoy. And and a lot of times these companies, they become big giant corporations that make so much money hand over fist over these characters, and they leave the creators in the dust. And it's unfortunate, but where do they go with it? I'm hoping that they don't lose the rights, because I think that Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, they tried to do a termination attempt and they had lost. So there is precedent that they may lose. But Siegel and Schuster are named in the movies. You know, you hope that the creators are in the movies as well, you know, whether they're in the Marvel comics and such, so that they'd be able to still be able to interact with one another. And it kind of becomes a problem. Now, in addition to the MCU, they're also trying to add the X-Men, which since Disney bought out 20th Century Fox, they bought out literally every single Marvel hero that 20th Century Fox had, plus all of their movies. So, like, Disney's basically becoming like the superpower, basically on its own, and they are looking to add those characters to the MCU. But if they're going to look to add to those characters to the MCU, some of the people who are in charge, Victoria Alonso here, is being pushed up as a president for Marvel Studios. She's still going to answer to folks like, I believe, like Kevin Feige. I could be wrong, but she's getting moved up. And she had something interesting to say 2 years ago. 2 years ago, she criticized the name of the X-Men. She felt that the name is outdated, which you scratch your head and you go, okay, so you have these people who have created these characters who are loved. Male, female, doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter, like, what, everybody is able to enjoy these comic book heroes and read on them. Well, like, with the exception, I think, believe within the last 5 years since their comic sales have been in the toilet, which kind of goes in line with what they did with, never mind. But anyway, so she thinks that the X-Men name is outdated, because of the involvement of all of the women in X-Men. Well, the word man, or X-Men, has to do with extra power, right, for the X, and human. So extra, so basically extra humans is kind of was, Stan Lee's original idea for the name of X-Men. He did it because he needed to be able to create superpowers for a team. Now, don't take my word for it, because, you might be sitting there going, well, Rodimus, you're just some dude on the internet. Take it from Stan Lee himself. Stan Lee himself here said where he came up with the name for the X-Men. And I'm going to leave a link in this video because I don't know if I'm going to get a claim for this, but Stan Lee himself said that he created the X-Men. His original title was going to be called The Mutants. But this publisher didn't like it because it didn't sound, right. People, how are people going to, get involved with that? He's like, but people are not going to know what an X-Man is. And he also said that whenever there was social issues added to any of these comic books, he also said that he did make sure everything was in the background and that it was subtle and it never felt like it was preaching to you, and it was always in the back of your head. So again, I'm going to leave a link to this video in the description. Stan Lee himself said these things. So I don't know what to tell you, Victoria. I don't know what to tell you, Twitter. Like, Stan Lee, you're going to have to attack Stan Lee, which a lot of folks do still now anyway. But that was his reasoning for creating the X-Men. Like, he needed to be able to create superpowers, and he figured, why don't we just say that they were born that way? It would save a lot of time in creating where they got their powers from. And that's how he created the X-Men. And it was a failing book. It was a failing book. After around 50 issues, the book went into it went into reprints until I think around the 90s. Uncanny X-Men around 93 is when they started publishing new stories, and they introduced I believe it was Storm. And I got to remember, because it's been a while since I've read those particular issues. But then Claremont took over from the X-Men. He did Giant Size X-Men #1 as a way of like a big introduction to the X-Men of Wolverine and Storm, and the characters were added to the comics. But Claremont, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, took the those characters and took them to a whole nother, dimension, basically taking the establishment that Stan Lee had already done. If there were social issues there, he may have actually been able to expand upon them in a way that he, was, a lot of people felt was really good storytelling for its time. Now, I'm not getting into the political or social aspect of it, but yes, a lot of it's been there. But it's been there, and it was always subtle. It was always done in a way that never felt like it was preaching to the people, like the people who were reading the comic books. It always made it feel like you can get behind the X-Men in what they were doing in order to try and create a peaceful world where mutants can coexist with human beings, them being extra humans, right? And that's how he also created the name Xavier. He created the name Xavier because the name had an X in it, and that's how he can remember, okay, the leader of the X-Men is Xavier. That's how he literally created the character names. So, I'm sorry, but no, human, the word that's short for that is man, or men is plural, is where X-Men came from. Changing it would completely change the entire branding of the heroes. And again, I'm not trying to get into this social political aspect of things, but the one thing that Stan Lee said that's really important in this video: it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you believe, you're able to enjoy these stories together with everybody else. And that's what Stan wanted when he when he created the comic books back then. And I wish that a lot more writers today felt the same way when it comes down to storytelling, and good storytelling, so that we can have these heroes who are compelling. Doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what their backgrounds are. We can get behind them, enjoy them just as much as anyone else. So, yeah, if we want to see these heroes added to the MCU, I kind of want to see it done in a way that doesn't feel like it's like you're changing the name just to change the name of the characters. Just leave the X-Men as the X-Men. Follow Stan Lee's advice when it came down to storytelling. And that's all I want to say about that. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I have many more videos coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for all that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.